2022 is nearly over, and it brought several updates to Jailbreak as usual. But which updates are the best, and which ones are probably going to be forgotten about? I tried to figure that out in this video where I rank every single 2022 update from worst to best. Though technically it's not every single update because I did make some clarification. For one thing, I'm counting 5 days of vehicles as one update instead of 5 updates, and I'm counting Season 9 and the live event together as one update since Season 9 came out a week later and it only added that season, and the same goes for the trading and Season 10 update. When ranking these updates, of course, I looked at the quality of the features and additions the updates brought to the game, but I also looked at them from the thought process of, if this update didn't arrive at all, would the game suffer for it? Of course, remember this is subjective and my opinion, so feel free to leave yours in the comments below. If you enjoy, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get started. Easily coming in last place is the March 2022 update. This update added the tow truck. Initially a fun vehicle to mess around with, but it's just not that useful, and I've never felt the need to use it ever again. It also added the ability to expand the minimap and place waypoints, which is pretty good for new players, but for experienced players like me, it's pretty useless, and this is something that should have been in the game a long time ago. Oh wait, almost forgot. It also added horns. Wow, amazing. Yeah, in my opinion, this update was just very bare bones. It didn't really add anything useful. It just felt like a waste, and I felt disappointed after having to wait a month for this. I think adding a limited vehicle event for a week, like what happened with the snake and the javelin, would have helped this update a lot and wouldn't have made it so mediocre in my opinion. I assume the reason this update is so small is because it came out a month before the live event update, and I assume the devs were hard at work on that one. But even so, I felt like this update was just still way too small. After that, we have the February 2022 update. This update added Season 8, which I thought was a really good season, and I really loved the Celsior Grand Prize. I know some people aren't big fans of it, but I really enjoy the design of it, and I think it's really good for a spawnable flying vehicle. I also do like the Badger vehicle that this update added quite a bit. I think it's a fun starter vehicle. However, like the update we just talked about, I think this one was also a bit too small and didn't add much in my opinion, and I'm really not a fan of the new garage system. Yeah, the favoriting feature is cool, but it just looks so ugly compared to the old one in my opinion, and I don't like how it blocks up like half the screen. I'm just not a fan of the direction they're taking the UI in general, and I'm gonna talk about that as we go through the updates. So yeah, this one is also pretty small, and it added a feature which I actively disliked, so I think it is one of the worst updates of the year. Then we've got the January update. This update revamped the museum. In my opinion, the new museum definitely looks cool, and I like how they add more Easter eggs in the robbery stuff, but I do wish they took the revamp opportunity to change up more of it, as the museum is pretty much still exactly the same, and I think it's in dire need of a shakeup. They should have added more different kinds of puzzles and maybe change up the lasers a little bit. I also didn't like that they retired the Airtail and the classic car. I didn't think either of these cars needed to be retired. Kicking off the top 10, we have the McLaren events. I really enjoy these kinds of events whenever they come to Jailbreak. I really dug the NASCAR event, and I really liked the McLaren event as well. The MCL 36 is a really awesome vehicle, and it's so much fun to drive, as well as having top tier stats all around. Besides that, there wasn't really much else to this update, which it's not really a bad thing as it was just a fun event, but that means I can't place it too high on the list. Then we have the August 2022 update. I thought Season 11 itself was surprisingly good. I wasn't looking forward to it very much as I didn't like the theme, but a lot of the prizes surprised me in a good way. I also did like the brand new safe prizes they added. However, the biggest problem I had with this update was the safe revamp itself. There were a lot of obvious improvements that they could have made upon the old safe system, like an open all feature, but for some reason they didn't capitalize on that. I also think the new system just has a lot of visual problems that make it really tricky to use. For example, I wish it showed the amount of money you had like the old UI did. Instead, you have to click off the safe UI and then click on your money or look at your leaderboard, which is pretty counterintuitive. I also think it's pretty frustrating that it doesn't show you which items you already own. In my opinion, it should have like a check mark or just something indicating which ones you own already. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm not a fan of the direction they're taking the UI now, and I just think visually this looks worse than the old safe UI. Up next, we've got the bank revamp. So not gonna lie, right after the awesome live event update, this one was kind of a disappointment. There wasn't really much to talk about here. I do like the bank revamp a lot. It looks so cool, and I'm glad they didn't listen to the people crying about nostalgia. And the new bank floor was also great as well. I like that Crater City was already getting new stuff so soon after the live event, like the new gun shop and garage, and not gonna lie, I wish the 1 million shop stayed in Crater City. And finally, the private jet was alright, but pretty forgettable, and I've never used it after this update. But yeah, besides the bank revamp, I don't think this update really added anything substantial. I think it would have benefited from maybe a new vehicle. Up next is the October update. This update really didn't add much to the table. It was another one of the smaller updates, and it's a small update that, we usually get near the end of the year, right before the winter update. It added Season 12, which I thought was alright, but other than that, there wasn't much. A couple vehicles got revamped, like the Army Heli, which looks a lot cooler, but what really pulled this update up for me, and the reason I don't put it near the bottom, is due to the jet revamp. The jet had needed love for quite a while, and this update made it one of my favorite vehicles in the game. It's so much faster and easier to control, and the dogfighting feature was just so much fun. This is one where if I had to pick which update would get removed from the game and which one wouldn't, I'd definitely pick this one above the others that I've just talked about, as the jet revamp is so cool. Then in 6th place, we have the airdrop update, and in my opinion, this is where the updates jump from being kind of mid to really good. Although there were definitely some huge lag problems with the NPCs, after they got resolved, mostly, I think the NPCs were executed really well. I was very concerned about adding NPCs to the game, and I thought they were a stupid idea for years, but they found a way to pull them off and actually make them a really cool mini robbery. And I definitely think the airdrop revamp is awesome, and the airdrops are way better now. However, what I really didn't like about this update were the changes made to the cargo train. I think the idea of adding different boxcars to the cargo train was a good one, but the way it was executed wasn't good at all. Robbing the cargo train is very volatile, as you can be thrown in at any second by the tiniest action, and it's simply not worth it due to the small amount of cash given. I think the harm done to the cargo train was really frustrating, but I do like the airdrops quite a bit, so that saved the update for me. Up next, we have the most recent update, the boss. In my opinion, the first boss fight added to Jailbreak lived up to my expectations. It wasn't overly difficult, but it was no piece of cake either. I like that it requires you to team up with other people unless you're super skilled. And it's just a fresh challenge which I really enjoyed, and it gives a good payout. I also really dig the new, and I think Season 13 is alright. After that, we have 5 Days of Vehicles 2022. I really loved all 3 of the brand new vehicles we got this update. The Mark V was a beautiful looking starter vehicle, which was really solid. The controller was awesome. And of course, the Javelin is fantastic. And of course, I was happy to finally see the ambulance and the fire truck get a revamp after so long. Of course, we also got a bunch of awesome changes in this update, like a ton of bug fixes, as well as changes like the military base finally being moved. Overall, I'm a sucker for excellent 5 Days of Vehicles updates. They make the game a lot more fun in my opinion, especially when the vehicles are great and the devs are doing stuff outside of that. And this one definitely suited that criteria. Kicking off the top 3, we have trading. This was another update that had so many people, myself included, very concerned. It could have gone wrong in so many ways, but in my opinion, it was executed incredibly well. The trading system itself is incredibly tight and very well implemented, and as far as I know, there haven't been any major issues like duping or anything like that. Of course, there's a few small cases of this, but there's nothing on a huge scale like you see in other games with trading. The fact that trading occurs in an entirely separate game from the main one is really good in my opinion, as it makes the main game a lot more enjoyable than it would have been if the chat was always filled up with trading requests. Even though I don't do much trading myself, I can really appreciate the entirely new section of gameplay this update added. There's a whole new faction of the fan base that obsesses and is completely devoted to trading now, and I think that's really cool to see. Updates like this help revitalize the community and keep people playing the game even after they've completed everything. And of course, on a personal level, I really enjoyed finally getting some items I had wanted since I started playing the game. Most notably, the fidget spinner rims and the hypno rims. For the penultimate update of the year, we have the July 2022 update. Like last year's July update, I just love when we get an update that finally squishes a ton of bugs and issues the game has, and this update was no different. So many long-standing bugs that were so aggravating finally got dealt with, like gun spam, permanent ragdoll, anti-cheat issues, and much more. A lot of vehicles also got well-deserved buffs, one of which being my beloved Batmobile. I already loved this vehicle, but the new overdrive feature just took this vehicle to a whole new level, and so many vehicles got this treatment. I also really enjoyed the snake vehicle event, and I thought the snake itself was an excellent vehicle. Finally, I absolutely love the newly introduced robbery roles. They make robbing stuff a lot more interesting, as now there's a certain chance that you might actually get more money from doing a different robbery than you might expect. And it gives a better way to get stuff like rocket fuel. The hyperchromes are a cool flashy cosmetic to help build up the endgame of Jailbreak a little and reward the people who are very dedicated to the game. Overall, I think this update was a home run in so many ways, and it did a lot for the game, and I definitely wouldn't want this one taken away, so it comes in second place. However, there is an update that I did like just a little bit more. In my opinion, the best update of 2022 was the April live event. Though the live event